We're going to take a trip today, a 1,500-mile journey around New England by canoe. But it's more than just an adventure. It's about indigenous history, ancient waterways, and what they mean to the people who paddle the Great Circle. Welcome to Windows to the Wild. I'm Willem Lang. Freddie Wilkinson is a professional mountain guide from Madison, New Hampshire. He shares his stories of his experiences in the outdoors through National Geographic and the New York Times.
Hey.
For the next several months, however, Freddie is deserting the mountains for the water. He's on a paddle around New England with a group of indigenous paddlers who are on a journey. We caught up with them recently in Boston Harbor. Freddie, it's a pleasure to see you. What a surprise to have you sneaking up on me like this.
Hi, Will.
How are you?
Great.
You're well rested now from your journeys?
I am. We arrived here 2 days ago, so we had a nice rest day yesterday.
The story begins in early spring, more than 300 miles north from where we are at Boston Harbor.
You're from Maine.
You're from Syracuse. Syracuse, New York.
So,
Born and raised in Onondaga Indian Reservation.
Freddie and some of the canoeists he'll paddle with gather in Old Town, Maine. They're on Indian Island, the starting point of their journey.
On our return trip, we'll be coming right across this point, so I don't know if we'll actually cross our wake, so to speak. Basically the start and finish of the whole journey. I thought maybe the next adventure would be like 2 weeks or something, but here we are for a 1,500-mile journey, approximately 3 months. We'll see.
Now, you are circling what you call not New England, but the Northeast, right?
Correct.
Because it encompasses.
Well, a big part of this journey is through New England, but it's also through New York. We're going all the way to New York City, and then we'll be going north up the Hudson River to Albany, and then west out the Mohawk River to ultimately get to Lake Ontario. And then from there, the path will lead us north.
Yep.
Down the St. Lawrence Seaway, passing the Thousand Islands area, and Montreal and Quebec City. And then from Quebec City, that'll be the farthest north point of our journey. We'll turn around and come back south to return to Old Town, Maine. You know, if you went back in time 2,000 years ago, I believe this would have sort of been the Beltway highway of the region. Not many individual people would have paddled this entire circle in their lives, but communities all along it were connected in deep and sustained ways. And, you know, that traditional knowledge of how to go, what's the best route to travel in a canoe, you can still find that. And, that's what this journey is all about. Hey, I'm going to see you in like 10 days. It's maybe 9:30. We're here at the north end of Indian Island, Penobscot territory, and just getting ready to set off on our big journey. We were up last night, way too late, working on the canoes. There was some final adjustments that needed to be made. The outskirts of Bangor, Maine, canoe culture lives, stopping at Shaw and Tenney, Maine crafted paddles since 1858. let's see if we can borrow a paddle from these guys for our journey. And so, you know, we didn't tuck it in till past midnight. I'll leave it at that. My buddy Neil working over here. We met 2 years ago on a joint National Geographic Haudenosaunee canoe journey paddle. Neil's from Syracuse, New York area. And yeah, I really dialed up. Look how he organizes his stuff. It's beautiful.
The journey, which will take all summer to complete, has taken even longer to plan. The logistics are daunting. They'll meet members from tribes throughout the Northeast as they move along the historic waterways. Canoes will be swapped out as they move from ocean to rivers to lakes. Food and water will be gathered along the way. Even the start location was carefully considered.
Old Town, Maine abuts Penobscot territory, and we began there because several of my companions on this project are Penobscot, and it's no accident that Old Town, Maine became known as a place where canoes are built and manufactured.
So you started at the cradle of canoeing, as it were.
Absolutely, and it's really, you know, the Penobscot deserve the credit, and as the indigenous people who invented the canoe and really perfected its use within, you know, along these waters that we now call New England.
Yep. The journey begins. They'll retrace a canoe trail that once connected tribes throughout the Northeast. Freddie will write a book based on the journey.
Jump for the spikes.
3 of the canoeists will film the journey. James Francis is one of them. He's a filmmaker, educator, and Penobscot Nation's tribal historian.
My journey as a tribal historian really took a turn because there's not a lot of written documentation by Penobscot people about our history, and so I was looking for other avenues to figure out the history of my people, and stumbled into indigenous geography, studying of place names and understanding how my ancestors interacted with place. And so for me, retracing some of those old canoe routes and connecting river systems together on this modern journey was very intriguing to me. It's kind of reestablishing that connection to the waterways and to the landscape, and reinvigorating an older Penobscot sense of place.
Well, how did you get involved with this? I mean, you're not part of the Old Town community.
No, I'm not indigenous. I'm a white journalist adventurer dude,
Yeah.
and I've spent the last 20 years of my life seeking out mountain adventure. But I realized, although I love the White Mountains and our home hills in here in New England, the real adventure and the form of wilderness travel that gives you the deepest connection to the history of this place isn't in the mountains, but on the water. So
That's right.
I figured I'd hang up the crampons and pick up the paddle for a few years.
Freddie and James planned the trip. Reconnecting to a canoe route used hundreds of years ago runs deep in Penobscot culture.
I grew up on a small little island in a river, and when I went out to play, my mother never told me, you know, stay in the yard or stay on the street. She just always told us, don't go over town. which meant don't cross the bridge to go over into town. Stay on the reservation. And so this was our playground, the whole island. And the tribe had a bunch of canoes that they would rent out. But people would sign them out but not bring them back. And so there was a whole bunch of them just laying on the shore in different places on the island with life jackets and paddles. And so we as kids would use them. We'd climb in them, would paddle around, and put everything back where we found it when we were done, and no one seemed to have a problem. But it's really, in my formidable years, put me in a canoe with the paddle. And my Uncle Neil was a national championship paddler, and he taught me whitewater. And so, it just was a part of who we are. We're riverine people, Penobscots, and it's part of our culture.
How'd you establish the relationship?
Well, one of the most, surprising to me and just pleasant discoveries is that, despite a pretty ugly history, every Native American community has avid outdoors people who are incredibly skilled guides and people you can learn from. And as you know, outdoor people of all background, once you get out in the woods or on the water, you got a lot in common. So, I reached out to a bunch of native paddlers, historians, activists, folks of all stripes. And, I didn't say, hey, I'm a journalist, I want to interview you. I said, hey, I'm an outdoorsy guy, I want to go for a paddle with you.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the generosity of these communities that they said, hey, somebody wants to go for a paddle? Hell yeah, I'm going to guide him and take him out. Yeah, I'll give him a paddle, and I'm going to teach him a few things too while we're at it.
Oh, yeah. Now, the canoe is kind of the focus of all this activity, right? Without the canoe, nobody's going anywhere.
It's a metaphoric connection. It's a literal connection. It's a logistical connection. It's our it's our life and death form of transportation most days.
The canoeists make their way along Maine's waterways, sometimes on foot, other times with the help of wheels. Eventually, they plunge into the Atlantic Ocean. They're on their way to a campsite near Portsmouth, New Hampshire. How did you find the Old Town canoes on the ocean?
They handled okay.
Yeah.
It took some practice and it took some trial and error. We ultimately ended up modifying them with 12-foot outriggers that turned the canoes into a sort of a multi-hulled pontoon vessel and make them quite stable. So we paddled through 4.5-foot swell and 2.5-foot chop probably to get here.
The campsite for the next couple days is on Pest Island, just offshore from Portsmouth. It's been more than 2 weeks since they left Old Town, Maine, and they need to recharge.
I'm losing track of the days. 15 days. This could be day 15. It could be Tuesday. I wouldn't bet on it, but pretty sure it is.
How's it been?
It's been awesome. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. It's been like, I am losing track of days. We're going till like not quite dusk, but we found our push like in the afternoons has been nice. We'll grab a nice snack at like 3:30ish, really fuel up and push, until 7:30 sometimes.
Ryan Kelly grew up in the Acadia National Park area of Maine. He now lives in Bangor. He's a member of the Penobscot tribe and loves being outdoors.
My outdoor connection, this is very familiar. This landscape is where I grew up. Like seaweed, rocky beaches, scrambling up rocks like this as a kid. This is very, very similar to Acadia National Park. So, in MDI, this is real familiar. The smells, the lobsters is what I grew up on. A lot of seafood, so I'm looking forward to digging into that tonight. I got involved because we did a trip with Freddie a couple of years ago on the Allagash and on the St. John or the Wolastoqey. And then during that trip, we got to meet each other, and he knew I was down for an adventure, and then he kind of started the wheels turning, and this came to be through Freddie's ideas. He asked me over the winter, and of course, I said yes. This would be awesome. It's a great opportunity to get outside for all summer long and see some places that I wouldn't normally see.
I realized that this trip really tapped into Indigenous people's desire to reconnect with old traditional ways. That we're pretty strong in our canoe culture here today, but I think other tribes are in different places on that spectrum, and getting that reinvigorated, especially through this trip, has been such a positive thing that has happened. That these tribes are going to look at this as a springboard back into some sort of revitalization that they could carry on for years to come.
Besides the adventure, what does this trip mean to you historically, culturally? Is there something there for you?
There definitely is. The part that I got excited about the most when Freddie asked was like the re-walking of the portage trails, some old dormant trails, and going into some spots that maybe haven't been visited in a long time. So we're kind of, saying hello to those spots that have been quiet for a while, and so far it's been really fun. Those spots have been just real nice to be in and paddle through, and it means reawakening some historical spots.
All clear. Yep.
I'm looking to receive whatever this has to offer. I don't really need to take anything, but if things are offered, it's been really good that way. The trip itself has offered a lot. The land itself has offered a lot. The beavers have already offered some. The beavers offered a trade whether I wanted to or not, so I took it. It was a good deal.
Are you the one who had his pole taken?
I had that copper tip pole, and they stole it in the middle of the night. The story was we did a little off-the-grid camping in a spot on the Sowadabscook. We were paddling upriver into deep beaver country. There were probably, I lost count after 12 lodges. We finally picked a spot for the night, had the poles in the boats. Damon's pole was untouched. He didn't have that copper end on it. Mine did. So yeah, the beaver stole mine, which had the copper end on it. And yeah, he took it. I guess that's what we get for, I mean, that's our rental fee for camping where we didn't ask to, we just did.
But you got something in return.
But the next day we went searching for it, hoping to see a beaver lodge with a brand new canoe pole sticking out of it. But we did find a perfect replacement, which is about the same length. I didn't have to cut anything off the end, and all I really did was shave the width of the bottom down, and it's a perfect replacement. So it's a good trade. There he is. That's what the beaver did, and that's where I started to clean it down to a decent size, shaving some weight.
The team moves on from coastal New Hampshire to Boston Harbor. They come ashore at Thompson Island, a place I'm quite familiar with. I once worked here with Outward Bound. Looks about the same as growing up a little bit, but lovely place. And you got a few days of rest now.
Yes.
You have other canoes coming to your rescue, as it were.
Yeah, this is a sort of a resupply stop for us. We just paddled about 340 miles to get here from Old Town, Maine. And we're going to be swapping out our watercraft from outrigger canoes to a larger 31-foot war canoe for the next stage of this journey.
Neil Benedict is a filmmaker. He's documenting the trip. Many of the images you see in this story are his.
I'm Oneida, born and raised on Onondaga Mill.
Neil is new to canoeing. He's been at it for 3 years. When Freddie approached him to consider paddling the Great Circle, he thought, why not?
I knew I would regret saying no to doing the whole thing. I would have eventually regretted saying no, as opposed to saying yes and giving it my best, you know? So I was like, do it.
Any real challenges for you so far?
Well, yeah, there are a few challenges because I'm kind of new to this stuff too. I've never done anything above class 1 rapids with a canoe. Ocean paddling, totally new to me. Everything's basically learning as we go.
Today he's getting some help. Right across the bay from the campsite, James arrives from Maine. He brings with him a Penobscot 31-footer, which the team will paddle together.
This is a very special boat. It has a special history to it, but it was made in Old Town, Maine by a gentleman named Mike Mayberry in consultation with a member of the Penobscot tribe named Neil Phillips. And it's just one part of, there's so much legacy and intergenerational sharing of knowledge that happens out on the waters. And this canoe is just one example of that.
I think the big change is when we delivered the Warrior canoe, the 31-footer in Boston Harbor. That really became a really important journey for especially the Shinnecock, whose waters they were going to go down through on Long Island.
That's where we'll continue the story on the next Windows to the Wild. You'll travel with the paddlers as they attempt to complete their journey. You'll meet some of the people who join the team along the way and experience their discoveries and their challenges as they navigate the Great Circle. I'm Willem Lang. Join us again on the next Windows to the Wild. Support for the production of Windows to the Wild is provided by the Alice J. Reen Charitable Trust, Bailey Charitable Foundation, the Fuller Foundation, Rhodes Scholar, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Make a gift to the wild and support the Willem Lang Endowment Fund, established by a friend of New Hampshire PBS. To learn how you can keep environmental, nature, and outdoor programming possible for years to come, call our development team at 603-868-4467. Thank you.